He said that I should introduce him as a business person, although he also worked as a faculty member at the American University in Bulgaria and also at Sofia University. He's had a hand in a couple of startups, and he said that primarily he wants to talk, that he's interested primarily in return on investment, so he's going to be talking on why presentations are so important, not just because you want to be creative and to show how creative you are, but also because you're in it for the money. Okay, Steve, take it away.
Merci. Okay, I'm really happy to be here, so thank you everybody for having me. My goal of the presentation today is to help you guys make your presentations more impactful. Okay? That's the goal. And I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. We've got 1 hour. 30 million, this is really speedy, I'll use the button, 30 million presentations every single day are given. 30 million. That's a lot of presentations, and that's a conservative number. So what's the point of all of these presentations? Why are we doing 30 million presentations and sitting through them? Why are you sitting here, right? Usually it's to make money. That's why we're giving presentations. We're trying to sell a service or a product or consulting or whatever. Sometimes you want to get a job. You're presenting yourself to an employer. But really, that's about money too, because you want a better job and you want to eat. Sometimes you might want to win a competition for design or creativity, but really, that's about money too, isn't it? Sometimes it could be about fame, if you have a lot of money, or recognition, you just want to be known as the best designer, #1. But that's kind of about money, because when you have fame and recognition, people are going to want to use you. Maybe if you're a charity, like Habitat for Humanity or UNICEF, it could not be about money, but usually it is. They want donations. Sometimes it could be they want labor. They want you to volunteer 5 hours a week on a weekend building houses for Habitat for Humanity, but that's still kind of like money, because time is money. But they have a goal, so I hope we can agree, like start off, at the point of presentations is to create some sort of action, some sort of return on your investment for doing that presentation. Does everybody agree with that? Like, is there another reason to do them? Is anybody like a hobby presenter and they just do that for their health and it's like, okay, so we can agree. The point of that is for return on investment, to create some sort of action in the people we're presenting to, yeah? Okay, so what's the problem with these 30 million presentations? Any guesses? They're really monogo losh. They're crap. They're terrible. They're really bad. I promise you, you've all sat through presentations that you're just sitting there going, oh, when is it going to end? Okay, and why does it matter that they're really bad? Obviously, because you're killing me sitting in the presentation, you're killing your business because you're not going to get the action and return on investment you want, and you're killing your own personal reputation. You really are. Okay? Prove it, Steve. I will now try to prove it to you. I won't just make blanket statements that are empty. How are you killing yourself, your reputation, your sales? Okay, I call this the cycle of doom. Just made that up the other day. Cycle of doom, it goes in 5 steps. We're going to talk about them all. It starts with the bad presentation. It'll move to communication is then bad, which will move to a bad image of yourself, which will move to less sales and less money. Okay, you're presenting. You're doing a really bad job. All of a sudden, your audience is looking like this. They're bored. Okay, maybe they're not all asleep, but they're doing something else. They're checking their iPhone, they're checking their mail, they're writing notes, they're talking to friends, they're whispering, they're thinking about what they want to do that evening, whatever. But when they're doing that, that means you're communicating poorly because of this bad presentation. And I want to break down, this is a little bit geeky, this is communications models from 1948, but still valid. Classic communication is input, meaning me, I'm thinking of a message, I'm thinking of something creative, I'm thinking of whatever it is I want to say to you. Processing in the middle, this is your brain processing what I'm saying. And it does that in different ways, like the messages I use, the actual words, the media I use. Am I using PowerPoint? Is it video? Is it internet links? Is it anything else? And my approach. Am I up here behind the lectern sitting down, which is my little castle, my little Zamek, firing things at you like an old professor behind a lectern? Am I using body language that's engaging you? Am I asking questions? Am I trying to promote some interest in you? Whatever. All these things affect processing. Output of communication. You observing, understanding, believing in what I'm saying to create action. Classic communications model. Input, processing, output. Okay? And this presenting part impacts the middle. Now, what happens when that bad presentation is making people fall asleep? It's called, in communications terminology, noise. You're putting noise into the system, and noise is a bad thing. Noise means you're not sitting there processing what I'm saying, you're doing something else. And if you're not processing what I'm saying, you aren't going to understand, believe, or act. You're just not. You're not going to run out of here going, yeah, I'm really going to put these ideas to use, Steve. That's a great thing. No. And when that's happening, when people aren't believing you, they're not acting or wanting to act, they're not even really listening to you, you're creating a bad image of yourself. The people are sitting there thinking this person has no idea what they're talking about. What an idiot. Gloop of. Back to my cycle of doom. You present bad, you communicate poorly, you look bad, and as a result, you're going to get less sales. Because nobody's going to act and buy when they just don't believe in you. And when you get less money, you're poor. Okay, cycle of doom. I think that's pretty reasonable. Let's go through a little example, because I love stories. I will tell you later how I love stories. And I'm a little thirsty. I'm not sure which one's mine, and I know that guy's got a huge Nastinka. Just kidding. We'll drink Monica's. Okay, so let's give a little tiny example of what we're going to say about this, and I'll give another one later. Okay, this is Steve. This is a real example of Steve sitting through slide 56 of 187. This was the slide 56. The guy was going through every single point, reading it verbatim. This is Steve going through number 58. This was Steve at number 60 of 187. That were all like this. And what happens? Am I paying attention? No. Because I'm reading that stupid slide instead of listening to the person, because I think if the guy clicks, I'm going to miss something, or vice versa, right? How did I feel by the time I got to 187, or 6 of 87? Guesses? Pretty much like this. Seriously, it was a real story. It was at a corporate client of mine, and a consultant was doing this pitch. How did I feel at 187? So happy it was done, right? I was excited. And then, am I going to go out and buy this guy's services after 187? Guesses? No. I'm going to run to the nearest beer and drink it because I really need a beer after all that time. And who wouldn't? Or whatever it is you like, a hot chocolate, I don't know, but I ran out and got a beer. Didn't even think about buying. So, to recap, bad presentations mean you're communicating badly. You're not getting any action or anything else from the client, the customer, the conference attendees, or whatever else you want to get. So let's focus now on the good. How are we going to make good presentations? Because this is supposed to be a practical sort of conference. All right, 5 things. We're going to go through them all. Let me check my time. Goals, significance, structure, simplicity, and rehearsal. Let's start with number 1. Goals. Have a goal when you're going to do the presentation. It sounds dumb, but figure out what that goal is. Is it return on investment? You want to do something. You want to sell the client. You want to pitch yourself to you're an ad agency. You want to pitch yourself to a corporate client. Whatever it is, you want to get a job. You're going into an interview. Plan it. Have a goal. Know what you want out of this presentation. All right. Do you want to win? It's ROI. You have to plan it, and you have to keep it in mind. always in mind. It's the most important thing. Have a goal. Second, you want to create significance in your presentation. Because significance is why you're doing this. Are you doing it because your boss told you you have to do it? They said, oh, you know what, you have to make this really dumb presentation for this corporate client. We know nobody's actually going to care, but you've got to do it. Are you doing it just to give information? I don't know why those 187 slides of over and over information. Just write me a book. Don't put it on PowerPoint slides. So why are you presenting? You're normally trying to present to create meaning. What is meaning? When you have meaning, meaning is passion. You're excited about whatever it is. You really want the job because you like the job. You're excited about good presentations because you're sick of sitting through bad presentations. You're excited about what it is, great design, because you think your design is the best in the world. You're presenting with meaning. When you have meaning, you have passion, it gives you energy. When you have energy about something, that energy is going to convert to excitement. That excitement is going to exude from me to you, and hopefully you guys will pay more attention because I'm excited and you can tell it's cool, at least for me, and you're like, well, why is that so cool? Okay, I'll pay attention. And when you pay attention, there's a higher chance that you're going to act. Have significance. If you don't have any significance, back to the output, act. If you don't have any significance, stop. If there's no reason why you're giving this, if you're giving it just because your boss wants to give it to you to do, it's pointless. Don't do it, because it's going to be really crappy. And everybody's going to sit there and it's just going to be really bad, and you're actually going to have a negative effect more than a positive effect. So it's pointless to do it. Just go do something else. Really. If you don't have meaning in what you're going to talk about, just spare me. Spare you. Don't do it. Structure. Okay. Presentation should have some structure. Hoppa. Make an opening. This is what I'm going to talk about. I opened with my goal is to help you make more impactful presentations. Make an opening. Start to tell a story. Now, why a story? And examples can be stories, like my little example of sitting through that corporate presentation. Why a story? Because we love stories. I guarantee you we are hardwired in our brains to love stories. Absolutely love them. For the last 2 to 3 million years since speech has been around, it's been the predominant way to pass information. Writing only started 5,000 and some years ago with cuneiform and the Sumerians, right? We've been sitting around since caveman times, around the barbecue on the savannah, hearing stories from Giotto, who passes it down to us every night about how to avoid saber-toothed tigers, how to hunt woolly mammoths. We love stories. We love when Mommy Chuck and Taco told us stories at bedtime. We are hardwired in our heads to really, really appreciate stories. So the more you can communicate your message in a story or example format, the more attention you're going to get. Okay, and I'll bring up a point to that later, but it creates more impact. Another thing, don't try to say everything about the world in one presentation. Keep it short, 3 or 4 points. We're not going to remember more anyway. My entire presentation's about good presentations. I'm not going to preach to you about whatever, the proper advertising techniques and why you shouldn't use reverse type and things like that. I'm just teasing you guys with that one. Close the story. So you state your goal, talk about your story, say a few points, close it with a summary. It's classic, say it again, say it again. Okay. Stories have impact. What else has impact? Simplicity. Mark Twain, one of my favorite guys because he just generates so many quotes, but he apologizes for the length of his letter because he didn't have time to write a short one. That says a lot. It's really hard to be concise and simple. It's really easy just to dump stuff on a page. All right, keep it simple, stupid, all right? Classic. Focus your message. Limit it. Rewrite, rewrite, rewrite. I wrote this thing about 8 times and just gave him another version 10 minutes before I finished. Every time you rewrite, it gets better. It really does, and it gets shorter. Please, I see this all the time with especially Bulgarian professors. Big words do not impress me. I really don't care if you use the word somnambulate rather than sleepwalk or whatever. They're not impressive. Big words alienate your audience. Makes it harder to understand and process. Don't use big words. It bothers me. Hemingway, short, concise little words.